I was diagnosed with a hypothyroid back in my early 20s, and it led to several symptoms. I was passionate about finding that root cause. I was like, I am not going to get on medication if I don't have to. I am in my early 20s. That's the last thing I want to do is take a medication the rest of my life. And that's what the doctor had said would happen. What causes the thyroid to slow down? Toxicity, heavy metals, chemicals, emotional toxins, which I am now very passionate about. Part of that was supporting my body's ability to detox. And your lymphatic system is a huge piece of that. So, what is your lymphatic system?
Friends, it is so great to see you today. We're so glad to be with you. What a gift. I have the amazing Paige Edmonds with me today. It is always a pleasure to have conversation with her. I'm always uplifted when I get done with conversations with Paige, as you will be too today. So we've got a few more that will be coming in today. So just give me a minute or give us a minute while we're doing this. But if you don't have an essential oil handy, you need to get an essential oil handy because we're all going to take an opportunity to breathe in some amazing scents here in a minute. If you don't have one, then you're just going to practice an opportunity for deep breathing, and bless you for it. And it will be great. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gavin Poulton. I am the founder of Restore Hope Oils. And it is just, again, a gift to be with you today. Those of you that don't know my story, we'll touch upon it a little bit today. But the importance of not only just the lymphatic system, but essential oils and other simple modalities and tools that we have in our toolboxes that we may or may not be aware of to support proper lymphatic function. So as I have Paige with me today, Paige is a functional nutritionist. She's such a gift. And so grateful as she is also the lead coach for the Dr. Mindy Pell's team. And so we're going to get into some wonderful conversation today. I appreciate her willingness to be with us today. Thank you, Paige, for being with us. One other thing just to be aware of before we begin is I want all of you to understand as I'm admitting people in, please understand that if you desire to continue on this class, this webinar, you recognize that we are not doctors. Nothing that we're talking about is specific healthcare advice. This is just an opportunity for you and I and Paige to all be in a conversation together. Essential oils are not approved by the FDA, and we are not seeking to provide healthcare advice. What we are seeking to do is just have a wonderful opportunity to learn together and experience some of these great properties of the body and essential oils as a whole. But if you choose to continue on this in this progress or on this webinar, please know that you accept this, recognize that this is just for educational advice, or rather educational opportunity to learn. So Paige, can you why don't you start us off and let's talk a little bit about just what is the lymphatic system. If you feel like you want to share some of your story as well as kind of how you got into this, that would be appropriate as well. I will say that we appreciate those of you that are participating. Please have your faces available. We appreciate that. Some of you may be in a work situation where that's not possible, but we prefer that we're able to see your face. So again, thank you for being here. And Paige, I keep giving you false starts. I get you ready to talk, and then you're like, what the heck? Stop talking. But if you have an essential oil handy, this is where we're going to take a minute. In fact, Paige, what's your favorite oil to start when you're going to start something? Do you have some? Do you have one that you love?
I rotate. So right now, and this was actually last time we met, was my favorite, is bergamot. I've been having bergamot on handy and I have it in my diffuser right now being diffused. So for some reason I'm stuck on bergamot. Gav, you may have to help me figure out why that is.
There's no reason, no problem being stuck on bergamot. Let's clarify that. That's a beautiful thing. I think it's fantastic. So bergamot is your jam today, but stuck, it's a good place to be stuck. my friend, as it is such a great neuroprotective. If we think about bergamot just in the very beginning, it's actually like a citrus lavender, right? It
Oh,
has high amounts of the same chemical constituents that lavender does. So it provides this uplifting capacity and this calming capacity at the same time. It's quite rare that we find that in essential oils. The bergamot is really good. I'm going to apply some Pure Happy, and I'm going to do it right here to my wrists. And I am going to roll those in. Then I'm going to breathe it in. And if you all have an oil handy, do it with me. If not, just take a great, wonderful breath in through the nose. I'm going to do two. Man, oh, life is so good. Paige, no more false starts for you. Tell us about you. Tell us more about the lymphatic system.
oh, I feel so blessed to be here. I absolutely love chatting about, well, really all things health, to be honest. However, what's been on my mind a lot lately is detoxing, and we'll get into that today. I do have to go back and answer your initial question. So, bergamot's a single oil that I've been really into for diffusing because we're chatting about the lymph. My favorite lymph blend right now is I Am Strong. I like to start my day with I Am Strong, and I will apply it in certain areas, which we will get into as well. And that really, I can start to feel my lymphatic system responding and moving. And there's a strong emotional component to it as well. So it's, to me, very grounding and uplifting at the same time. So I Am Strong is the one I've been really turning to lately. But the way we promoted this talk was all things lymphatic health. And if you missed our last conversation together, we went into all things liver health. We did touch on toxins as well. And it's hard for me to pick which one do I love more, which one do I address first when I am trying to help a person on their healing journey, their health journey, detoxing, and a little bit about my background. If you missed the last call, is I was diagnosed with a hypothyroid back in my early 20s. And it led to several symptoms that we may or may not get into. And luckily at that time, I don't know where this passion came from, but I was passionate about finding that root cause. I was like, I am not going to get on medication if I don't have to. I am in my early 20s. That's the last thing I want to do is take a medication the rest of my life. And that's what the doctor had said would happen. And so as I was discovering what are the root causes, why in my early 20s was I developing a hypothyroid, which when I did a quick Google search back then, it was like, this is common in your 60s. And I'm like, I'm literally 20. I was 22. And
22, 60. Nope.
right, crazy, crazy. So when I was exploring what causes the thyroid to slow down, one of the areas for me was toxicity, heavy metals, chemicals, emotional toxins, which I am now very passionate about.
Big deal. Big deal.
And so part of getting my thyroid functioning, I'm not on thyroid medications. My thyroid is great. Part of that was supporting my body's ability to detox. And your lymphatic system is a huge piece of that. So what is your lymphatic system? It's actually a combination of things. It's consisted of vessels and organs and tissues and like the actual lymph nodes. So your lymph vessels, think of them as like your blood vessels. So that's going to be carrying the lymph to the bloodstream. The lymph itself is this clear fluid that has toxins and proteins and interstitial fluid and the lymph nodes, and we can all feel those lymph nodes. That's where we'll show you different spots where your lymph nodes are more concentrated, and it's the lymph nodes that takes that lymph and filters it. So you've got the vessels carrying the lymph. The lymph is what has the toxins in it. The lymph nodes are what's filtering it. And then we also have organs that are associated or comprised of this lymphatic system. So we've got our spleen, which also filters the blood. We've got our thymus gland, which produces T cells, which is so important for our immunity. We've got our tonsils and our bone marrow. A lot of the lymph lives in the gut and is connected to the gut health. So the lymphatic system, when it's not functioning properly, you can't detoxify your body properly. And that's why in my early 20s, I believe I was diagnosed with a hypothyroid. It's because my body didn't know how to detox properly. Now, I am still young. I'm in my 30s. And what I'm seeing for the younger generations, my generation, the kids, is very concerning. We now live in the most toxic times in human history. And so, if you aren't having regular practices to support your lymphatic system or your liver, you are going to set yourself up for chronic disease. I'll be bold and say it. I don't know at what age that's going to happen, but what I'm seeing now is that each generation is getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And we can blame it on several things, but one of those is toxins. All right, what direction do you want to go from there, Gav? I threw a lot out. You could feel my passion come through.
I like it. I like when the fire's lit. So the question, you actually brought up something interesting right at the very end. You said the lymphatic system and the liver. How are they connected? Let's help individuals. Why are they so important together? And guide us through a little bit of that process.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. So I have seen clinically where
I totally agree with that, right?
Yeah, like in some people, their liver may not be working efficiently because their lymphatic system is overloaded. And for some people, their lymphatic system might be, we call backed up or sluggish. It's not moving because the liver's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So they do work hand in hand. They are two of our major, I call them drainage pathways. And anytime one of those drainage pathways is not efficient, I believe our body is so intelligent. Our body is so smart. And so if, let's say, the lymph is not moving and working efficiently, that's actually going to put more pressure on your liver and more pressure on your gut and more pressure on your kidneys. And so I believe they kind of like they go through this ebb and flow. And that's why I think you have to almost work on them together at the same time because they do rely on each other.
Great comment. And we'll talk a little bit more about I Am Strong and why I formulated it the way I did. And it comes back to this comment of the liver and the lymphatic system as a whole working together because the liver makes anywhere from 25 to 50% of the lymph in the body. And so it's key for making lymph, right? Or that aspect of it. But again, like you said, chicken before the egg. Is it they're backed up or is it they're not making it? Like, what is the issue? So there does have to be a dual connection there or a two-pronged approach, for lack of a better term, when we're looking at this. So what I heard you also say is a couple of things. If we even simplify this a bit more, it seems like the lymphatic system is almost like our janitorial team, right? Like it's the cleansing team. But it's also, as you mentioned, toxins. But in some respects, could we also call it like the security guard of the body in some aspects? Can you? I know I gave you some words you probably weren't expecting today, but can you guide us a little bit in those two topics?
No, I love that because I never thought of it as being the security, but it is because it is what is helping fight off pathogens and invaders and helping us detox. I've always described the lymphatic system like the drainage of your homes. So think of your body as your home, and the lymphatic system are the drains. And so, what happens in your home when a drain gets clogged? Well, the water starts spilling out. So, let's say your sink gets clogged.
Right.
My
Yeah.
Mine used to get clogged all the time because of my long hair. And each time we'd pour a little Drano down, it would help, but for only so long, right? And the same can be said for your lymph. They are like the drains of your body. Isn't moving properly in a certain area, then these toxins and these pathogens, these bacteria, these virus, they start to spill into places they shouldn't be. So we often see with the lymph skin rashes, brain fog, joint pain, and yeah. So I believe that is a very smart analogy where they are the janitors because they're cleaning things up, they're filtering, but they're also the security. They're the security of our body. If your lymph
Love
is
it.
working well, then you don't have to worry about a pathogen coming in and making you sick.
Perfect. And so when you were talking about the drainage, toilet, whichever one you want to talk about, right? What you're suggesting is when it gets back and starts to overflow, it's getting into spaces of the body it was never meant to be in. And this is creating the inflammation that we all experience. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about this then. How does sleep what does sleep have to do with the lymphatic system and the rest of just the body as a whole? Can you touch on that for a minute?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we sleep, specifically when we get into deep sleep, our brain shrinks. The shrinkage of the brain allows the cerebral spinal fluid to wash the brain. That process is activated not by your lymphatic system. It's activated by, it's called your lymphatic system. Your brain has its own lymphatic system. So the only time you can wash out your brain is when you're in deep sleep, when you're sleeping. Now, your lymphatic system, it's doing its job all day long. It's always going to work, kind of like the liver.
Yeah.
The liver never stops.
Right.
I mean, our organs never stop, even when we're sleeping. But I think the liver is probably the hardest working organ. And then the lymph is also right behind there. And the lymph is always working, but the lymph is activated or working more efficiently in certain situations. So anytime we move, any type of movement, our lymphatic system requires muscle contractions to put a little pressure on the lymphatic vessels and those nodes and to get them to move those toxins and those pathogens out. So going
So we're
back,
pumping through the movement.
we're
Okay.
pumping. Yes. Yeah.
Got
And
it.
it doesn't have to be anything intense. It's not like you have to lift these really heavy weights. In fact, there are certain lymph experts that believe just the lightest of touch can be effective. So there's someone on this call today. I won't call you out, but she has been listening to my detox course and started working on her lymph. And she was in a lot of pain last night. She thought she was getting sick from doing, I forget exactly what she did, but it was just a couple lymphatic techniques. Got in a lot of pain. She was fine today. She was like, Paige, is that toxins moving? I said, yes, that is toxins moving. So just by being mindful of moving your body is going to start to move that lymph. So Gav, I would love for you to demonstrate, like, where do you apply your lymph oils and how do you start to move your body in a way to get that lymph to flow and function with the oils?
You bet. It's a great question. So when we're talking about just lymph points, I generally, something I want to kind of not maybe go in a different direction, then come back. One of the beautiful things about essential oils is just even the capacity to smell them can stimulate movement in the body. And so one of the things that makes essential oils different than another modality or health modality is its capacity to really affect the soul. And when I talk about the soul, I'm talking about the spirit and the physical of the body. And that's what I would define. And so essential oils can help engage both aspects or the soul as a whole, our emotions, and stimulate an aspect of cleansing. What's fascinating to me is when you talked about sleep and the lymph, right? And the brain in and of itself, how fascinating that if we're not sleeping well between 1 and 3 in the morning, the liver's not cleansing well, right? The lymph may not be produced properly. At the same time, if we're not getting enough sleep, we are not getting the brain cleansed properly. And the two of those together, not getting sleep, is just an opportunity for chaos and brain fog on a consistent basis, which is below average, which is not fun, right? And so as I'm pondering this, one of the things that I like to do, so today I have Pure Happy. If any of you ever seen Pure Happy, this is one we'll talk a little bit more about. I like to apply this oil specifically. I will put them on the sides of my neck. So I'll come down from the glands here behind the ears and I'll head down towards the lymph dump area down here. And I'll do it on both sides. Now, sometimes people will say to me, Gav, I love the roll-ons because I never have to touch them. Well, that wasn't really the goal of why we put oils in roll-ons. I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to start to vibrate down. Just pulse ever so lightly. I don't need to provide a chiropractic adjustment to my neck right here. I'm just gently pulsating down, and then I'm going to pump right underneath the collar and just pump those for just a moment. And then I'll go back to smelling it. So then what I'm striving to do is when we talk about this concept of parasympathetic or getting the body in a state where it can cleanse and effectively work as lymphatic, that's one thing I'm going to do. I will also take an oil, and here's a point here for our respiratory system on both sides, and I'll pulse there, right? I'll put oils specifically here, and I will pulse there, and then again, breathing. So I'm stimulating movement, stimulating activity, engagement in the lungs, on the meridians of the lungs, and then I'm going to go back to smelling it. So again, what I'm introducing, the idea is it's never one and done. Yeah. We're going to apply, we're going to smell. We're going to apply, we're going to smell, because we need the stimulation of the molecules, because essential oil molecules are so small to go up into the olfactory system, but they bypass what we call the cerebral cortex, which is kind of one of the bodyguards of the actual body, and they go straight to the brain, and they go straight to the lymphatic system, or not, excuse me, the limbic system. And that's where we engage with memory. That's where we engage with trauma, and we engage with release, right? The reason why we have memories come back to us when we smell maybe homemade bread when we walk in a home is memories are stored. So those are just two simple areas I like to apply. I then will also apply them on the lower abdomen and even towards the midsection, right? And I'll pump there a little bit, just kind of above that groin area. Sometimes it's challenging, especially if you've had hernia surgery, right? There's disruption to that communication. And so again, just very gentle down there, but I'll apply something like Pure Happy or I Am Strong to that area. Whenever we're talking about spaces that are a little even more tender, like even the lymph nodes in the armpit, we can do that. You're just going to want to remember that you may need more carrier oil, right? It can be a little intense. When we look at some of the oils in I Am Strong, there are some warming oils in there that for very sensitive skin may be a bit of a challenge. But again, wherever those pulse points are, you can feel free. And even if we're putting something here on the wrist, we indirectly engage the vagus nerve, which is also key for us in a parasympathetic state. So as we enter this parasympathetic state, Paige, you and I talked about it just before getting on. Why is that parasympathetic state needed for lymphatic cleansing? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So if you've never heard of parasympathetic before, that is the part of it's called the nervous system that gets activated when we are more calm, we're more relaxed. It should be activated when we are sleeping, when we are digesting our food, when we are eating, when we're sitting, laying down. And I believe that a big reason, besides toxins, that we are in the health crisis we are in is because so many people have forgotten or they don't make an effort to activate that parasympathetic branch of that nervous system more often. We're not going to be in there 24/7. You should actually, in a healthy body, should be going back and forth between the parasympathetic and then the opposite branch is the sympathetic. And so you should have this little rhythm of going back and forth throughout the day. And it's when we've lost the art of being able to go back and forth. I believe that's what also leads to chronic disease and inflammation and emotional dysregulation. And what that leads to then is the body gets in such a fearful state that it can't release, it can't move the lymph, it can't detox and cleanse and work efficiently. You're in survival. And so survival is great for very certain situations. We are not supposed to be in survival mode all working day from 9 to 5. And for some, it's in their home environment. It's at all night that they're in survival. So to answer your question, that lymphatic system, it's going to work if we're in the sympathetic, but not really that great. It's
Not
going to
effectively.
not effectively. It'll really activate once you can get your body into the parasympathetic, the calming branch. And so the oils have the ability to help tell that brain, okay, calm down. Let's calm down. Let's get into that parasympathetic. So that's, yeah, they have a physical effect on the lymph because the oils will get into the bloodstream, but they have that emotional, that limbic component to it as well, which is so powerful. So, Gav, you had listed off several places to list or to apply the oils. How do you know which one to start with? Do you do all of them? You mentioned like the belly. Maybe if you could, I think it would be helpful. Like, let's say you're having stomach issues. Could you focus on the lower abdomen? Are you having pain in your groin or your hips? Would you focus there? Like, give us a little more clear cut.
Yeah, don't be so general, right? So if I was struggling with something or wanted greater digestive balance, yes, I would look at applying them specifically to that lower abdomen. Well, two things. I would go to these points that are lower, but then I'm also going to apply the essential oil right over the upper abdomen. And the reason why is so much of what we hear gets caught up in the colon or the large intestine, but really the main workhorse in the beginning is the small intestine. And there's actually not a lot of products that really support the small intestine extremely well. Essential oils, again, remember they're not going to make it work better. That's not what essential oils do. They enhance communication. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone you're like, they are not getting what I'm saying, and I don't know how to make this more simple? And then someone comes from work or another space and they come and say the same thing you did with maybe one tweak. And you look at them and go, I just said that. But the person's like, totally got it.
Yeah.
I got it now. I'm going to move forward. Essential oils just enhance that communication, minimize the barriers, and enhance basically the translation. Or because when we have challenges, generally it's a miscommunication in life and in the body. Simple as that. Miscommunications create inflammation. Miscommunications create barriers or stoppages, as you talked about, overflowing issues. It's just communication. And so remember, when we're talking about the digestive system, we want to include also the lungs because they are connected from an emotional standpoint. The meridians rise up that way. So I would do, yes, the lung points and digestive points. If I'm striving to work through things more emotionally and just specific to the mind and the brain, then I'm going to go down the neck and then I'm going to go across the shoulders. But I also will take an oil up to the brain stem. So I'm not just doing lymphatic points, Paige, I guess, to answer your question. They're just part of the routine. I'll do a couple pumps in an area and then I'm going to cover a specific area. If you are just wanting to stimulate lymphatic flow anytime, you always can just apply oils to the bottom of the feet and they ride the cardiovascular highway throughout the body. So a morning routine could be easily a Live Better or a One Tap Detox AM on the bottom of the feet, or an I Am Strong or Pure Happy on the bottom of the feet. Like that's a perfectly great opportunity to stimulate lymphatic flow there. Now, Does that help answer your question? Does that make it a little more clear for everybody? Give me a
Yes.
wave if you're
Yeah.
like, I'm still clueless, Gab.
And put in the chat, like if you want
Yeah.
clarification or if you have a specific not condition, because we can't get into that, but if you have like, oh, I really want to work on my right shoulder pain, maybe we can get a little deeper into the specifics. And we will have time for questions too
You bet.
coming up. But that was super helpful. So you can target different areas with
Mhm.
your oils depending on what you're trying to achieve.
Great question. Pretty, what about opening the termini before applying the oil? It's great. It's fantastic. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. I am really big on jumping and rebounding, but I actually do more just plain jumping than I do rebounding. And I will do that. I will help to open those up before I do that and introduce the essential oil in the mornings. I love to just bounce like I'm straight up Tigger. My youngest has come by it completely honestly. There's no challenge there. Did you want to answer any more of that when she's asking the idea of the termini?
No, I think I agree with you. And I do think that if you have a sluggish lymphatic system or you suspect that
Mm-hmm.
you need to work on your lymph, I do think opening that up before exercise, before rebounding, before applying the oils, before anything that's going to like intentionally stimulate that lymph, before sauna, I think that that can be really powerful just to help get it flowing. Oh, we have a sauna question.
Go for it. You want to answer that one?
I want
You
you to
want me to take
answer
it?
it. I don't know.
Take it. That's easy. So what happens in a sauna, right? So the pores open up, so it's an amazing area for oils to go quick. But remember, when we're sweating, we intensify the effect of the oil, right? And so one thing I want you all to remember, if you're on blood pressure medication or any type of heart medication, this is where you really got to watch essential oils. And because they can become, what happens with like blood pressure medication and things like that is they don't adjust, right? And if an essential oil starts to support something, there's not going to be some adjustment. And so always really, really watch. Um, we wouldn't say there's differing opinions amongst clinical aromatherapists regarding blood pressure and essential oils. So I'm going to throw this in here real quick. Some say some are contraindicated. Some say not at all because we don't have the science to base that. And so what I'm inviting you to do is to be very cautious with essential oils, much higher dilution, at least double the dilution that an average person would be. So if an average person's using 2 pumps of fractionated coconut oil, you with some of the heart, you minimum would look at is 4. And you're starting to verify how the body will respond. So getting back to this comment of a sauna, saunas are the bomb, right? The challenge is that if you put an oil on it too high of a concentration, you will feel like you're on fire, right? Because the water or the perspiration will intensify that. The pores absorb more of the oil because they're widely open. And so, regarding that, I would be extremely careful if you put it before a sauna. It would be more like I would use it after. If you are wanting to get into a shower or into a sauna, your entire goal is to intensify. My recommendation is you need to know your body very, very well, and it's not my first recommendation. After a sauna, your pores are still wide open. It's a great opportunity to still take advantage of that and not have the intensity of the increased sweat. So, Amanda, it's a great question. You're going to have to know your body on that one, but I'd be super cautious. But I know what you're striving to do. I mean, you are moving stuff when you put in oil because remember, oils and water don't really mix, or oils and sweat don't mix. They intensify it. So that's your biggest challenge there. So, which oils and where to apply to help release stuck emotions? That is a question we're going to answer later because that's one that has such a wide swath or just so many things. So, Jesse, you're awesome for asking. I'm going to come back to you. What is the oil for respiratory area? There's a ton of oils for the respiratory area. Forest air is one. Tell me Paige, which oils do you like for the respiratory system while I take a drink?
My favorite is Remember Him. That's for respiratory, right?
Yep,
Too?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And why it's so good is it's different than Forest Air. So Forest Air, I originally formulated it for general respiratory support, but I would see it as more throat up. So it's more sinus based, it's more helping to support open airways. Remember, Him is more specific to, hey, if you're sensing a lot of gunk in your respiratory system, I love the oils in Remember Him for their capacity to help move some of that out. So it's not going to move it, it's going to encourage it to move. You know, sometimes our parents would be like, my invitation is that you do this. Are you telling me to do it or are you suggesting? I'm suggesting with great intensity, right? My kids will tell me all the time, Dad, are you telling me to do that or are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you take that how you want. That's how Remember Him works. It suggests it move out and it helps with that clarity and just any challenges with mucus. So it's a really good one. At the same time, I like it at night because it's very calming, or can be very, very calming.
Yeah, the scent is amazing. You nailed that one.
I like it. Can you ever do too much? I've been using the one tap liver support AM and PM. Can I also use that I am strong daily or the adrenal support? Yeah, Tressa, great question. You can do too much, right? And once a person's used the one tap detox AM and PM for a month or two, you may feel like, hey, I don't need this every day. I'm going to go every other day. But yeah, you just separate the times that you're using the oils. You don't put them all on at the same time. That's the recommendation. There's a few minutes in between. Paige, you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, we talked about this on our last class, and you
Yep.
had said how certain individuals who are more sensitive, they may need more time between because they can actually feel how the oil's changing their emotional state, their physical state. And so if you do too many at one time, it kind of is like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so if you slow it down and you, okay, let that oil do its work, do its job, and then go on to the next. I personally find that this is just what I've been doing lately, is I'll do a lymphatic because that's been on my mind a lot. I'll do
Sure.
like I am strong in the lymph area. And then a few hours later, that's when I do the Live Better AM. I don't feel called to it first thing in the morning. I feel called to doing lymph first thing in the morning. And then I don't know if it's just how my body works, but like an hour or two after things are flowing and moving, then I'm like, oh, my liver's wanting some support. Okay, let's give that liver some support. But
Yeah.
that's me.
That's perfect, right? I am an AM right when I get up guy, but sometimes your body may want PM. I just put them as AM and PM because one technically has more stimulating oils for the mind than the other. But it doesn't mean you can't use PM in the day. Lately, I've been using PM multiple times a day, right? Because my body wants that. It doesn't want necessarily the enhanced peppermint, right, smell in the mind. It's like I need to work on possibly some heavy metal stuff. I need this
Mhm.
during the day, right? And so again, don't get be careful not to get too caught up in such a stringent schedule. Just do what feels right to you. And what's interesting, Paige, is when we talk about I am strong in the morning, so perfect for your liver. And the reason why is it is
Mhm.
a hepatoprotective. In fact, it can be even if someone is sensing maybe AM and PM they need a switch, it's a great opportunity to switch. Grapefruit is the first ingredient in that, and grapefruit is a hepatoprotective, meaning that it's protective of the liver. It's also a stimulant, therefore stimulating lymphatic flow, stimulating movement. And so whether you knew it or not, you're supporting the liver very effectively right in the morning, along with your lymphatics, right? So I think it's beautiful. Something that people don't often talk about or know much about grapefruit is it's the scientific word would be depurative, and what that means is it's also has capacity to cleanse the blood.
Mm.
Grapefruit has some of this capacity. The second essential oil in I Am Strong is coriander seed. Coriander seed to get really good coriander seed is hard to do because many of the chemical constituents are so readily available in a synthetic form. So it's adulterated often. Also, 2,000 pounds or a ton of coriander seed crushed to be steam distilled only releases 7 kilograms of oil. It's like 700 bottles. That's all it releases from 2,000 pounds of actual matter, right? And so some of these, but are so coriander is so unrelated or so underrated, whereas cilantro is the leaf of the coriander plant. So you see, cilantro oil is steam distilled leaf, coriander seed is the seed. Why I love coriander is it's a hepatoprotective. It helps support glutathione levels when we're talking about inflammation. It's also a stimulant, but it also has a high amount of calming oils within it as well. Linalool, which is like bergamot or lavender. And so it has this ability to help stimulate aspects of the body, but minimize stress in the mind. There's a reason why it's also a depurative and is helpful at cleansing the blood, just like grapefruit. So there is a method to this blend and how I formulated it. These two are two very key ingredients that I won't go much farther into that one regarding the ingredients because there's just a lot in there, but really specific to the lymphatic flow, really specific to liver health, and just stimulation and stress relief as a whole. And so I Am Strong is a great one to start with. Bottom of the feet, lymphatic points, really, really good. Any other thoughts or questions there, Paige, that I didn't answer or you want to touch on?
So you have two blends that you call the lymphatic duo. Would you alternate between Pure Happy and I Am Strong? Do you just see what your body's wanting? Meaning, like the way that I can kind of tell is I've used the same blends for several years now. So I kind of know the scent even before I open the bottle. But if you're new to oils, can you like smell each one and think, oh, my body wants that one today, or I'm more drawn to this one? Like, how do you decide which one to use and how often?
It's a great question. So it was brought up in our last conversation that, I was told when I was younger in the essential oil world, they're like, if you don't like the smell, it means your body needs it.
Right.
Maybe, maybe not. Again, I don't really subscribe to that. I Sometimes it's challenging for people to really take this concept of I'm drawn to this oil.
Right.
To me, it's what just feels right when you get the aroma. The aroma maybe that is exactly what I need because when we look at I Am Strong, it's more of a stimulating scent, stimulating for the body as a whole. Where Pure Happy, I built it to uplift, but the oils in it help minimize poor concentration.
Mm.
So it's cleansing of the mind from stress that's not helping you with concentration. So I Am Strong, I would look at possibly for nervous exhaustion, right? When your nerves are just spent and you
Mhm.
need it during the day, right? Where Pure Happy is going to be more of a mental cleansing and mental uplift. They're both going to uplift, but I really like Pure Happy for the concentration piece. Now, again, we look at lemon and lime are the key ingredients in Pure Happy. Remember that citrus are high generally in something called D-limonene, and D-limonene is what we call a diuretic. And so when we look at something like water retention, citrus oils can be very, very supportive and helpful at minimizing that. In fact, if we look at the idea of water retention, possible cellulite, something like that, I Am Strong may be something that could be very helpful for that. That's the oil I would reach for. If I'm looking at just water retention and just seeking just general flow and to enhance mental function, I'm going to look at Pure Happy. But they both cross a lot of lines. And so it's really challenging for someone to say, I only use this one for this. Because again, if we look just at I Am Strong, there's 400 chemical constituents in this, right? Like, I mean, grapefruit alone, it's about 100 chemical constituents that we find in there. And that's just one of 7 ingredients. right? The essential oil vetiver has over 400 chemical constituents that we know of. We haven't even found all the others, right? So it's very challenging to put an oil in a box. So that's why I talk about this may be helpful for this, because it may or may not be for your body. But when I look at these two, when I want to move forward, because there's also black pepper in it that helps us kind of break through emotional barriers. Jesse, let's go back to your question. Where do we apply it if we're wanting to work through emotions and if we feel emotionally stuck? It really depends a bit on the emotion, right? And so if you're lacking forgiveness, if you're struggling to forgive yourself and others, and Paige, stop me if you feel like we need to go a different direction. I'm okay with that. If you're struggling to release and forgive self and others, then I'm going to work with the liver, right? If you're grieving, if you're really just sensing, feeling sadness consistently, I'm going to look at points on the lungs. I'm going to look at points on the large intestine, on the colon, it's the lower abdomen, or even just the flow of peristalsis, right? In that clockwise formation or circle over the gut. And so it depends a little bit, but know that the simplest is always the neck and shoulders, so you smell it. I did a class that's what was it, 2 years ago, Paige, where I talked about the emotion connected to different organs and oils that could be helpful. So I may make that available as well to each of you, so we can go through that. But Jesse, the simplest is neck and shoulders, smelling it, relieving that stress, and then we can get even more specific after that. Paige, what do you want to add to that? Anything?
I would say that if you don't know where to apply it, I would say go to your wrists. And that's because of the vagus nerve connection.
Perfect.
So that's what I would recommend, because I think you can apply it, you can smell it. And then I do think that if you can then move your body, whether it's physically or through breath, and not suppress that emotion. So let's say it's sadness and you're like, gosh, I'm really sad today. I don't want to feel sad anymore. I'm feeling so sad. Okay, let me grab my I Am Strong. You put your I Am Strong on the wrist, you smell it, and you still feel that sadness. That's the time to go into some breath work. Go for a walk. There's other stretches, and even just jumping up and down, rebounding. And you might be surprised, because when I do this, I give my body the time to feel what's coming up as I'm processing it. A secondary emotion often shows up. So then the sadness often turns to rage or anger, irritability. And then it turns into grief. And it's like I go through this whole cycle. And then I feel like a crazy woman. But by the time I've applied the oil and I've moved my body and I have felt what's coming up, within 5 to 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, well, that was over. I'm back to myself again. So I think there's some wisdom in, yes, apply an oil, but you don't have to necessarily apply it in the right spot. There's no right spot. There's no right oil. It's having the intention behind, okay, I'm going to grab the oils are going to help you no matter what, because of their impact on the limbic system. So you can't get it wrong. You just got to pick one and just intuitively think, where do I want this? Do I want this over my heart? Do I want this on my shoulders? Do I want it on my wrists? Do I want it on my feet? And go with it, knowing that you are putting it somewhere that it's going to help you.
Great comment. So the beautiful thing about essential oils, and she's right in the sense of just apply it, pick one and apply it, which goes back to your question, Paige, of how do you know which one? And it's just pick. But we have to remember that they're made of the same things we are, carbon and water. And they work well. They'll enhance communication. They'll work through us. Now, again, it's consistency. It's just being consistent, Jesse. So there's a question or a comment Jenna Lee made about remember him. I thought that was a male oil. So let me give you some clarity on that. Remember him was an essential oil that I created that was specific to essential oils in Jesus Christ's, the area where Jesus Christ was born and raised and ministered. And so originally I released that as a Christmas oil, but what it really is, if you look at the oil makeup, is it's essential oils, ancient oils specific to the respiratory system. And so originally it was remember him, remember this time of year, as opposed to getting caught up in the corporate nature of Christmas. But the oils there are very powerful. This for calming the central nervous system. It's the better of the two blends if you want to engage the parasympathetic. So, Ro, your question of what's for respiratory, remember him is a much better essential oil and engaging the vagus nerve and engaging and calming the central nervous system as a whole. Whereas forest air is going to be much more stimulating due to the eucalyptus and the peppermint, which is found therein. And so I hope that's helpful generally when we're talking about that. But my friends, just a simple thought that came to me. If you seasons are changing here in Kansas, and when the seasons change, some of us may feel a little bit more down. So I wanted to clarify something. If you're one that senses a little bit more of an emotional shift in the winter, I Am Strong may be more of the oil for you because of the grapefruit content versus Pure Happy. And so again, it's not that Pure Happy wouldn't be great. I think I Am Strong has a higher amount, not just of the grapefruit, but other essential oils that are going to help you through that time. And so that's the oil that I would recommend or suggest may be helpful during those times. Now you may switch and say, I need a Pure Happy today. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not breaking a rule. It's just, you're just using what you feel. Like sometimes we just don't get too caught up in, I have to use this for this and this for that. Only reason Gavin puts an AM, a PM, and a clarifying secondary name is to help people have a better idea of what it may have been formulated for. So if I apply I Am Strong at night, could it affect my sleep? You bet your boots it could, because it's so stimulating. Absolutely. And so it's not one that I recommend at night. It's not one that I recommend at night. Some of you may be fine with it. Just like I was speaking with somebody in our Facebook group the other day where she said, my body wanted one tap detox AM when I went to sleep, not PM. And I'm like, go get them. It's great. It's no problem. Paige, what other thoughts do you have for us today? Any other
I
thoughts? We're
had a
getting towards the
thought.
end. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gav and I were talking before we got on, and we both have moved recently. And
Yeah.
so when you were talking about the seasons changing, I got thinking, well, no wonder I've been attracted to I Am Strong lately. Yes, the weather is starting to change, but my whole uprooting of where I was living changed. That's a big season change in my body. So
Right.
it just dawned on me like, that's why I've been so interested in applying the I Am Strong. And I usually do it a couple times a day. I'll do it first thing in the morning. And then when I start to get that afternoon where I'm like, oh, my motivation is starting to drop a little bit, I'll apply it again. And it helps me get through the rest of the day.
Love it. Love it. Ladies and gents who have been on today, thank you for being here. I do want to make it clear for those of you that haven't used maybe our lymphatic duo or the oils therein, we did create a code. I'm just putting it here, Lymph20. And this will be available for the next 2 weeks. For anyone that hasn't tried it, a lot of you I see on this call know these oils, and it's great. Just hopefully this expands your capacity to use them. But if you put in the code LYMPH20 for either I Am Strong, Pure Happy, or the Lymphatic Duo, you'll get 20% off those oils. We do have a limited availability of each of those, but they're available under this discount for the next 2 weeks if you so desire, right? If you so desire to use it. But again, what a gift to be with all of you today. And Paige, thank you for bringing more of your awesome knowledge and just wonderful persona with us today. Is there something you would just want to share as we kind of wrap this up?
I just want to extend the thank you to you. Thank you for giving me the space to educate and expand my expertise onto you guys. I love chatting about this stuff. I loved seeing all of your questions. Generally, I'm glad this resonated with you. I saw a lot of comments about it being helpful, so I'm glad our job is done. It was so much fun. I love this type of stuff. So thank you. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today.
You bet. What a gift. My friends, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can message either of us on Instagram. At the same time, we do have a private Facebook group called Restore Hope Oils Q&A. If you are not a part of that, feel free to join that. And that's where we ask a lot of these questions on a daily basis and want to help you any way we can. So thank you again for being here. It's a gift to be with you, and Paige, the same to you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. To keep exploring natural health and essential oil tips, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or visit restorehopeoils.com.